A few issues he wants to address the country through you. I want to introduce Mr. Mukaaku Lubega. Mr. Mukaaku Lubega is a founder member of the Uganda Young Democrats. He began the struggle in 1995. It will be 25 years at the end of this year that Mr. Mukaaku has been part of the struggle to uproot this government. After the 1996 elections, Mr. Mukaaku and a few others were taken through torture throughout this country. He was released under a presidential pardon on trumped-up cases of trying to remove this government by force of arms. In 2011, he stood as a presidential candidate for this country. Mr. Mukaaku is an agriculture economist. He has served in many capacities. At the beginning of these 5 years, he led the campaigns for Kyadondo East, which brought a new lease of life in our position with the victory of Honorable Kyagulanyi. After Kyadondo, Mr. Mukaaku has led very many victorious expeditions. He led us in Jinja East when we brought back our comrade Muiru. It was a tough race, but we won it. After Muiru, we went to Ujiri. Mr. Mukaaku did not know Honorable Asumani Basalia very much. We knew him more. But when we decided that we should go for Asumani, Mr. Mukaaku did not leave the station in Ujiri when he went. Some of us would go and come back. But Mr. Mukaaku was there all the 45 days of the campaigns. And we won that race. We had a very tough race in Arua. You all know what happened in Arua. We went with Mr. Mukaaku as an advance team. We organized Arua. They attacked our principal. They imprisoned people. And the NRM thought, when they had decimated our team, that it had been decimated completely. But while that one was happening, we had Mr. Mukaaku and a few others to rely on, and they delivered the victory for Arua. Some of you who don't know what happened, Arua was a turning point for this revolution. And for us who know where this revolution has been coming from and where it is heading, we take pleasure and honor to respect Mr. Mukaaku, and that is the man I want to introduce right now to speak to you. Mr. Mukaaku, please.
Thank you for the endeavor to try and get to know what I have to say about all that is flying around in a traditional or mainstream and social media. But of course, since yesterday, I should have come to you quicker. I was engaged in a lot of things that were happening. As you know, I'm a field man. It was not easy for me to pull out of the field because we had prior arrangements to be in the field. The hula battle that we've had and we've seen, I'd want to say, calm down public, because I'm here to clear the air. Of course, despite my detractors and NRMists who have high gusto to sacrifice a tested field marshal, Samuel Walter Mukaaku Lubega, I want to openly say the people of Uganda who are oppressed just want to hear their hero and the struggle and the other heroes are alive and forging forward. I was appointed as vice chairman of the committee, the electoral committee, on a very good background, as Comrade Ruvoa has narrated, and many others which he has not pointed out. Among the almost 40+ million people of Uganda, to handle a very delicate exercise of bringing it together, making sure that we go through this election with victory, and ensuring that this time round we don't give the oppressor a chance to maneuver, manipulate, and steal our election. And the appointing authority was very clear that they would not come up with an individual better who has the background of founding the Nkova Zamboga and Uganda Young Democrats and leading these youth movements, who has a background of a revolution that spans right from the Semogele days up to now, handling presidential elections either as a mobilizer, as a leader, as a Mr. Fixer, as a community organizer. They thought that again the recent expeditions, first of all as a former presidential candidate and parliamentary candidate in a number of constituencies, but also as one who led the recent successes in the test battles of our elections as we tried out what we thought would work that we've never done before. For instance, making people of different political affiliations work together in an election kind of war situation, which we successfully did in Chadondo when I commanded together with my colleague Sempebwa and others, where we did not have what people thought were the generals at the time, commanding it successfully in Jinja, where it was almost a war zone with the NRM, losing people, arresting multitudes of our workers, but again succeeding. In Ibujiri, where we lost people, where we survived narrowly, and others like Chidanda still have the scars. It was only right. And when you look at Arua, which was basically war between those who are oppressed and those, the oppressor, when he arrested even the candidate, broke people's legs, I mean Jaja, Bosco and his troops, and those who believe in him. We successfully did fix it. I think the appointing authority was right to say Mukaaku handle elections management and Sula Chidandala and the colleagues handle mobilization and coordination. I would like to thank Comrade, the vision bearer, His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, who is our principal, and the appointing authority, who has also the power to hire and fire in circumstances that he is permitted under the Constitution of NUP. And in the circumstances that he was permitted then under the arrangement and the framework of People Power. In that regard, I'm very grateful for having been chosen as Deputy Chairperson NUP, Deputy Chairperson of the Electoral Committee of NUP, and therefore the Electoral Commission then of People Power. I have served my duties well and made a number of achievements. Number one, you have seen the great trek of candidates and endorsements from those who expressed interest to come and be part of the People Power movement. We must congratulate ourselves for that. I'm also grateful for the way, the disciplined way, despite the tear gas, despite all the other challenges that we have braved and weathered together to ensure that our people get organized and ready for these coming elections. A case in question is that though NUP is only 3 weeks old, look at how much we have managed to win and beating all other opposition forces and also beating the NRM, which has been here for 35 years in those particular areas. And we were on course. Again, we have gotten candidates for every constituency, including a formidable presidential candidate in the names of Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, registering as one who is going to be the vision bearer of the people of Uganda, the oppressed people of Uganda. Some of these are the great achievements. Our headquarters, setting up the framework, making sure that the mandate is clear, making sure that there is no conflict of interest, ensuring that everyone is treated fairly. I think this has been done better than in any other political organization that is also facing the COVID situation of a scientific election. That is a great achievement. But despite that, when I was appointed, together with my colleagues, my boss, Masewa Lukamba, and the other colleagues as commissioners in this committee, we had already started on our campaigns, personal campaigns. For example, I was running here in Rubaga South, and I know you as the press bear witness that in Rubaga people have no doubt that Mukaaku Samuel Walter must be their MP. Come.
People power. People power. Kurubega. Rubaga. 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 Kurubega. Rubaga. Kurubega.
Likewise, my colleague Mase, whom had already sold the world over, that she is going to become the apparent, and she's now the apparent MP of Bugwe. My other colleagues in the commission too. We discussed this with the appointing authority, and they said there is one thing: you can't sacrifice quality, determination, commitment, and ability with just because somebody is having to stand for parliamentary or local council elections. So we agreed, and when we started, the journey looked to be smooth. And knowing the pedigree of our ability to balance, and give justice and fairness to everyone, we have done it and delivered. But as time grew, in a constituency like Rubaga, which no doubt has been the command of the opposition, has held the command post of the opposition since time immemorial, there were fireworks and there were people. And of course also government was trying its level best to ensure that it creates confusion around the personality of Mukaaku. They have tried it before, but stoically we have weathered this. And at the end of the day, we considered this. Though we could handle it the way the judiciary of Uganda handles issues, that when you are the judge in a certain case where you have a conflict of interest, you set yourself aside, you step back until when that issue is done, and leave others to judge. You can't be a judge in your own case. This is a principle we all know as Democrats. But with the storm, with the insinuations and innuendos from our colleagues, including those who live in this constituency, I mean those influenced by the Salehs and the like and the Chitatas of this world, I decided that in order to be clear, I should step back, discuss this with the principal, who is our presidential candidate and the appointing authority, and the leadership of NUP, that it was in the best interest of all of us much as they needed me to step back and be deployed in other aspects and also concentrate on my election in Rubaga South, which I'm going to do. Of course, relieving me of the duties that I've had, because it was costing me. My people in Rubaga wanted me almost on an hourly basis, but I could not give them time. I hope they are not going to deploy me in other aspects that take me away. But now I can reassure you, my relieving me of the duties and stepping back is like saying, Mukaaku, go ahead and grab that parliamentary seat because we need you in the next government. So, just to repeat, I want to thank the appointing authority, Comrade Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, for giving me the opportunity to serve. But as a warrior, as a lion in the liberation struggle, dedicated for almost 30 years of my adult life since Senior 5, I want to assure you, I'm going to continue with the struggle, number one, to ensure that Kyagulanyi becomes the president of Uganda. Deployed or not deployed, because in any case, all the battles that I've fought have been self-deployed, including the reunions of the Democratic Party that I used to handle. So, deployed or not deployed, let anyone not be fooled. I still remain the Field Marshal of the struggle against Yoweri Kaguta Museveni and those who are oppressing us. But number two, this gives me the freedom again to go where it needs most. And that is in the enclaves where the Salehs and other people and the mafia group in government and those who are assisting President Museveni, where they are concentrating their energies. And the number one is Rubaga South. I don't want the monies of the mafia group. I don't want their other influence. I don't want their manipulations and maneuvers to overtake the interests of the people. I will go in those constituencies where there are difficulties, like I went for those up to Arua. I know that in constituencies like Chadondo, Chira, Sabagabo, elsewhere, and even in the north, east and west, there are constituencies which have been calling me to go and sort out the mess. I am ready to go and handle that. Finally, it is important for everyone to know that when we were still in the Uganda Young Democrats, we say the struggle is our life. I have seen some comrades through social media and some media outlets saying that, look, Mukaaku was relieved of his duties because, first of all, they are right, because there was conflict of interest, and that's right. I agree with that. And I think that is now solved. But again, them saying maybe he was trying to serve two masters. That has never been Mukaaku. That has never been Mukaaku. Look at my lips. That has never been Mukaaku, Samuel Walter. Since my youth days, as a student, when I decided to support the Democratic Party, when I decided to be the federalist that I am, the freedom fighter that I am, I have been focused all through without looking at the sides, whether it be monies, whether it be any other incentives that the enemy may want to dangle. I want to assure you, ladies and gentlemen, When I stood as president, maybe the state would have given me more money. I mean the regime. When I was in Chadon, there were billions flying over for me to give it. And I whipped everyone to ensure that we deliver that vote. 85%. When I went to Jinja, you may not know, from all angles, even from the opposition, bringing money. If you want to ask the Mwirus. But Samuel Mukaaku, who was the chairman, who was the head of that campaign, stood firm, never sold that vote, delivered that vote. When I was in Bujiri, I was threatened with my death, my life, and everything, including my colleagues, the lives of my colleagues. I stood firm, never sold the cause. It was the same in Arua. It has been the same in the Democratic Party reunions. Now that I'm firmly spearheading and have co-founded the People Power movement and commanded the troops, I'm not going to look at elsewhere, but be focused to taking power to give the people of Uganda government that they deserve. But good enough this time around, I'm going to do it in Parliament because the people of Lubaga have decided. The people of Lubaga South have already decided there is no better, more competent person than Samuel Walter Mukaaku, and they're working day and night, regardless of the fact that I don't have money. I don't have money. It is the councillors, aspiring councillors. It is the sitting councillors. It is the LC chairman. It is the leaders. It is the religious leaders that are contributing money and resources to ensure that this campaign brings out what everyone would like to see. And I want to thank you all, especially those of you who are here. It is now a case, as I conclude, it is a case of those with the state monies vis-a-vis those with the people's support and the people's resources. We shall see who will win at the end of the day.